No rider has ever won 4 250cc National Motocross Championships. As the 1993 season got underway at Gatorback Cycle Park in Florida, three-time and defending champ Jeff Stanton had high hopes. His closest competition figured to be Yamaha's Damon Bradshaw. The Mooresville, North Carolina rider is touted as the fastest and most aggressive rider on the circuit today. Could a newcomer to the ranks of the 250 class be a threat? Phil Lawrence, newly signed by Team Suzuki, says yes. Team Kawasaki's efforts are captained by Mike Kiedrowski. Kiedrowski has 2 125 titles to his credit, as well as the 500 crown earned just 1 year ago. When the gate dropped in the season opener, those riders plus the rest of the field thundered toward corner number 1 with Mike Kiedrowski leading the way. Kiedrowski was the dominant force. He easily won both motos. For Bradshaw, rider number 8, a crash in the first moto led to a 10th place finish. He fared better in moto number 2, eventually settling for second place. Jeff Stanton, the defending champion, suffered a similar fate. From well off the pace in moto number 1, he finished second. A crash in moto number 2 put him at the back of the pack, where he battled all the way to 4th. Newcomer Phil Lawrence enjoyed a profitable day. Moto finishes of 3rd and 5th. John Dowd, a privateer from Chicopee, Massachusetts, turned in an outstanding effort, finished 4th and 3rd. Mike Kiedrowski takes one of his 2 checkered flags on the day to take the overall finish in the 250cc class. The points earned in both motos or races are combined to determine overall finishing positions for the day. Those same points later in the season will determine the national champion. At Gatorback, the season opener, Kiedrowski, with a pair of moto wins, took the win, followed by Stanton, Dowd, Lawrence, and Bradshaw. The black number plate is the signature of the 125cc class. Number 15 belongs to the hottest rider on the circuit, Jeremy McGrath. Michael Craig, with a newly signed factory contract with Team Kawasaki, will also be a threat, as will some of the veterans, like Suzuki-supported Denny Stevenson. The opening moto would be a survival contest that ultimately would fall to Jeremy McGrath. Yamaha's defending champion, rider number 1, Jeff Emig, in the 125 class, from a bad start, worked up to second in the opening moto. Then a crash. He was unable to continue in moto number 2. Eric Kehoe, rider number 22, a veteran of 125 wars, finished 5th in the opener, then a win in the second moto. Craig turned in a pair of steady rides, a pair of 3rds. He'll be tough in races to come. The overall win, Jeremy McGrath. In years past, McGrath has not been a threat in the rough outdoor national championship series. He's vowed that will change in '93. McGrath wins the series opener. Eric Kehoe in the number 2 position. Michael Craig finishes 3rd. Doug Henry was 4th. And rounding out the top 5 in the standings, rider number 86 was Damon Huffman. And that brings us up to date. Round 2 of the AMA Championship Series in Southwick, Massachusetts. Stay tuned for Cycle World.
Cycle World presents AMA Motocross.
The pits are a beehive of activity as two-wheel, high-tech mounts are readied for the stars of the AMA Outdoor Motocross Championships. Round 2 of the series is about to get underway under sunny New England skies. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Southwick, Massachusetts. I'm Larry Myers. With me to help bring you all of the excitement of Round 2 of the National Championship Motocross Series is Prime Network's expert motocross analyst, Jim Holly. Jim, let's go back to the beginning of the season. Our 2 defending champs in the 125 and 250 class, Jeff Emig and Jeff Stanton, were whooped. Can they recover out here today?
Well, you know, Larry, I think any true champion can recover from something like that. A championship's really not won in one race. So I know Jeff Stanton will be gunning for Mike Kiedrowski today, and he has to pick up valuable points.
Yeah, Mike Kiedrowski is, of course, leading the 250cc National Championship class. He won both motos down in Gainesville, and I wonder if the momentum that he picked up there will carry over here at Southwick. To find out, let's go to Davey Coombs. He's the 3rd member of our broadcast team. He's standing by in the pits with Mike Kiedrowski, the Special K.
Thank you, Larry. Mike, Larry Myers wants to know if you feel like you can keep the momentum going today from Florida. Well, I think so. It's been a long time since Florida, but I feel good here at Southwick. My Kawasaki's running really good, and me and my mechanic changed some stuff in practice and made it a lot better than what it was at the beginning. And I'm here to win races and just go out and do the best I can.
Okay. You've won 2 125 national championships in your career, but this is the first time you've ever led the 250 series outdoors. How's that feel?
It feels about the same as the 125. You know, you concentrate the same, you come to the race feeling the same, and just do everything the same. So I've been in that position before. I think I can handle it again, and maybe, just doesn't feel any different. Just go out there and win.
Well, the entire field is going to have a tough time of it out here today. 2 reasons. One, they have to contend with each other. That in itself is a handful. But secondly, and I think your past experience as a rider here, you'll verify, this is a mighty tough track.
Well, as you know, Larry, it's an all-sand track. That in itself, and also the heat here today. It's about 80 degrees out here. This track here, you really can't pick a line. The lines are constantly changing from moto to moto. And I know from experience that the second moto will definitely separate the men from the boys.
And that first moto will take a lot out of them. It's going to be interesting. Some riders love it, some hate it, but they all have an opinion on this Southwick track.
It takes a lot of physical ability to go out there and ride Southwick for 35 minutes. Takes also some good horsepower because the sand drags it down a lot. And working with Honda the last 5 years, we've definitely got enough horsepower to pull us through and do the best for that situation. So I would say Southwick is definitely the most demanding out of all of them, just because it's obviously rough, real deep sand.
Like sandy tracks like this, you don't want to get out of the main rut. You get out of the main rut and you'll get into a real deep sand and you'll just lose seconds pretty bad right there, And whereas hard tracks, you can go out and pretty much go wherever you want if there's good lines everywhere, unless it gets muddy, But you pretty much have to stay real smooth, and it gets real big sand whoops. So you better watch that too, or else it'll throw you down real quick. Grabs the front end a lot. You have to watch the front end.
Well, that's what a couple of the riders had to say about this very tough Southwick track on a very hot day. When we come back, we'll have motocross action from round 2 of the championship series. Welcome back to Prime Network's exclusive coverage of the 1993 National Championship Motocross Series. We're at Southwick, Massachusetts, the first moto in the 250 class about to get underway. Jim Holly, you've been in this position as a former pro rider. What's running through their minds?
Well, Mike Krudowski right here, he's just wanting to get a good start. He's really focusing. Bradshaw's same. They're just kind of relaxed, They'll get a little tenser as the, time goes on.
Are they thinking about the corner? They thinking about the guy beside them? They thinking about the track? Are there any specifics that you recall thinking about, as a matter of fact?
Well, myself, I always like to know who was on the inside of me, just in case that rider ran it in a little deep, and wanted to bump you out of the way.
Well, there's a guy that's concentrated. Jeff Stanton, look at him. He is engrossed in his thoughts. On the other hand, Guy Cooper, he's a friendly sort. He's apt to turn around and wave at people.
Oh, he's taking it easy right now. He's not a rider that really gets in depth. He's kind of just take things one step at a time.
Well, we're looking at the starting line from the first corner. When the gate drops, that wide field, some 40 riders are going to funnel into that narrow position on the racetrack. Take a look at this race analysis from 1992. Jeff Stanton was the winner. We're looking at 2 motos out here today. The motos are 30 minutes plus 2 laps in length. Weather, no chance of rain. If you're a rider, you got to love that. 80 degrees. It's ideal for the spectators, a little warm for the riders. The gate is down. Here they come for turn number 1, and it's going to be John Dowd.
Wow, John Dowd got a great start, Larry. He just threw the bike sideways in front of everybody.
Oh, there's a couple of guys that threw themselves on the ground. Steve Lamson, one of the factory hopefuls for Team Honda. And, of course, the Honda guys are trying to get Lamson back into this. They did, but he's at the tail end of the pack. At the head end, John Dowd, what a start. He's leading the factory guys.
Well, he looks really impressive, Larry. He's just, right now they're trying to establish, kind of feeling everyone out the first lap. But John, he's trying to pull away. He's trying to make time.
What are your thoughts now? First lap, you've got guys in front of you, guys behind you. You have to watch out for traffic. At the same time, you want to move up. What does the rider think about in these opening moments?
Well, I know John's just trying to put as much time as possible ahead of Stanton here. He wants to get an early lead. He's a local favorite here. He knows his track like the back of his hand, and you can see he's starting to pull away from Stanton a little bit.
Yeah, one of the things that you talked about, this wide expanse of sand all the way around this track at Southwick, the lines are going to be shifting. So no matter how well well you know it, you can't rely on that past experience or that past knowledge, because it might be different when you settle into a corner.
That's right. You want to keep your momentum around all the corners. It's a sand track. You don't want to try to square off any of the corners. You want to try and ride the outside and keep the momentum up, because sand does have a tendency to bog the bikes down.
Well, right now, no one is bogging down the motorcycle of John Dowd. He's holding down the #1 position. Behind him, the defending 250 national champ is Jeff Stanton. Then comes Damon Bradshaw. So we've got the good riders up front. Mike Kiedrowski is not far off the pace. They big fall away downhill jump into that soft bottom as the sands continue to shift. We're going to go back and take another look at the start of this, and let's see how Dowd got that whole shot.
Well, he started on the inside, Larry, and he had the momentum going into the first turn. Went a little hot and heavy in there and moved a few people around.
It looked like he was going to move himself around right off the edge of the track. And Bradshaw, good start on the outside, but look what happens to him.
Well, I think he just went into that turn a little bit too hot and heavy, and the bike started to bounce. The shocks have a tendency to be a little cold, and the shock might not have been working right for him.
Yeah, he was just an inch or so away from disaster. As it was, he was able to bring it back. Stanton, though, settled into the #2 position. He's watching the lines as Mike Kiedrowski now has worked up to third. He's watching the lines of Dowd, and I think looking for a place to pass.
Well, I don't know if he's really, he's looking for lines to pass, but he's really not ready to pass John Dowd yet. John's still got a little bit of a lead on him.
Well, he had best get ready, because Mike Kiedrowski, running in a #3 position, is right on his rear wheel, and Bradshaw back and forth is not that far off the pace. We had a sample there of how rough this track is, and riders just bouncing from side to side. It kind of fits Jeff Stanton's riding style.
Well, most definitely. He's a physical rider. He's a big rider on the track. He can throw the bike around, and he likes these rough tracks at Southwick.
Strength is a factor when you're in a situation like this.
Most definitely. You're on the bike for 35 minutes, and it's really rough. You have no time to rest.
Moto #1 barely underway. It's led by Dowd, Stanton, Kiedrowski, Bradshaw, and Lawrence. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, you're watching National Championship Motocross from Southwick, Massachusetts. That's Damon Bradshaw, rider #8. He's in 4th place right now, has not moved up. Look at the head of the pack. Jeff Stanton on the inside had been in the #2 position, and it looked like, Holly, he was challenging.
He did get him.
He was challenging John Dowd. He made the pass, took over the #1 position. Dowd into second. Here comes Kiedrowski now. He'll try to make the move.
That's right. He can't. Oh, but Dowd just made a bobble there. Kiedrowski cannot afford to let him get away.
And he didn't. Dowd made that big bobble that opened the door for Mike Kiedrowski. Kiedrowski has now moved to the #2 position, and I think your point there that Kiedrowski could not let him get away is well taken. Stanton with a lead and Dowd in between him. That would be disastrous for Mike Kiedrowski. Now for Stanton, it has not been a particularly good year. We asked him earlier if this might not be the time for him to collect his thoughts and to maybe regroup and see how the rest of the season would go.
Yeah, I have sort of regrouped. It's been pretty much a terrible year for me. I haven't got a race win or a moto win or anything, and it's been the worst year for me yet. So it's kind of been a regroup, get ready here, Southwick. I pretty much kissed the Supercross goodbye, and pretty much chances of me winning that are down the hill. So I just am looking forward to these nationals, 250 and 500. I've yet to win the 500 nationals, so I want to win that really bad. But most importantly is, each race I have in front of me here at Southwick.
I think, in effect, Jeff Stanton is saying for him the season is just getting underway. Meanwhile, Damon Bradshaw has snuck into the #3 position. Dowd drops back to the #4 slot. Here are some lap riders, and we should see now Mike LaRocco, and here he comes. Indeed, LaRocco has moved up from out of the pack into 5th, and he's riding with a sore wrist, Jim.
You're right, Larry. That wrist has got to be killing him. I've ridden before with pain. I don't know how he's doing it. This is his first race back. This track, I wouldn't want to come back on this track, Larry.
Yeah, the track is really rough. Look at all of the bouncing that he's doing up and down, and that's where it's going to be taking his toll. Now, there was Stanton and Kiedrowski. Let's check that running order again. Bradshaw, and right there was John Dowd. Now, LaRocco is still quite a ways off the pace, but he is moving through the pack, as we pointed out, and he should be coming through next, and there he is. Mike LaRocco, rider #5, is in the #5 position. Meanwhile, at the front of the pack, Stanton continues to lead Kiedrowski, but it looks like Kiedrowski trying to pick up the pace a little bit. Does he have a game plan here, Jim?
I think he wants to get as close to Stanton as possible. He can't afford to let him get away, but he doesn't want to eat so much sand on this track here. You know, the bikes throw up a lot of sand.
Ah, good point. A big roost. Oh, Stanton threads a couple of riders, and Kiedrowski follows. He's now moved right up to his rear wheel. What is running through their minds?
They want to pull away from Bradshaw and Dowd. They have their own race here right now. They're commanding. They're just going away. They're taking it to themselves, and there might be a pass right there. Nope, he didn't quite get him there.
The question in my mind, Jim Holly, did he really try to get him there, or was he maybe just worrying him a little bit?
No, I think he was trying to get him there, Larry. He was pushing him really hard.
Well, this moto is winding down, so there will not be that many more chances for Kiedrowski to make the pass, and certainly he has been all over the rear wheel of Stanton. He's tried him on the inside, he's gone to the outside, and one of the things you cannot do, I guess, is follow at this point. You have to invent some new lines. So here are the standings. Stanton, Kiedrowski, Bradshaw, Dowd, LaRocco. We'll be right back. You're watching the closing laps of Moto number 1 in the 250cc class. It's round 2 of the National Championship Motocross Series. Now, this is a battle for the number 3 position. Earlier, Damon Bradshaw, Jim Holly, was in that spot. He's taken a tumble, and that's left Mike LaRocco and John Dowd to fight it out for that number 3 position.
That's right, Larry. I think the track's taking its toll on Damon Bradshaw today. And on the other hand, Mike LaRocco's riding a great race here. He's coming from way back. I mean, as you can see, the bike's bouncing all around. I know that wrist has got to be bothering him.
You know, that's a good point. Meanwhile, at the front of the pack, it's Jeff Stanton. And would you look at this? He is all alone. Mike Kiedrowski and Stanton had been battling over that number 1 position, but Kiedrowski took a tumble. Now, he picked himself up, and he got right back into it. And he's still holding on to that number 2 position. But you pointed out the track is taking its toll, and boy, you couldn't be more right there.
Well, I think, you know, like Mike Kiedrowski, he might have been pushing a little bit too hard. There's Bradshaw we see coming around in 5th spot there. He picked himself back up off the ground. You know, getting back to what I was saying there, Kiedrowski might have been pushing Stanton a little bit too hard, Larry, and paid the price and went down.
Yeah, I'd have to say that both Bradshaw and Kiedrowski were probably doing a little bit of pushing. They were trying to pick up points in this 250cc championship series, and I think probably trying to catch Stanton on this racetrack just did it to the both of them. Jeff Stanton on the final lap will be headed toward the checkered flag, and this will be his first moto win of the year. As a matter of fact, I think first win of any kind of the season, and he told us earlier, you know, it was a new beginning, and I think that he probably pegged it right there.
Well, I think it's a good turning point for Stanton. I think he desperately needed this win if he's going to be a contender in the 250 championship, Larry.
And he needed this win to turn his season around. That's the point that we were alluding to. Meanwhile, Mike LaRocco still getting the pressure. As a matter of fact, John Dowd has started to close on LaRocco again. Great battle for the number 3 position.
Well, you know, I expected John to, there we see Mike Kiedrowski running in 2nd. You know, I expected John Dowd to fade, but he didn't fade. He showed me a lot of courage today, running right with LaRocco.
Well, all of these riders that are handling this racetrack are showing a lot of courage. Checkered flag is coming out. Jeff Stanton takes the win. Boy, he's got to be glad that that one is over. He worked hard for it. Stanton, you'll recall, got off the line in, I think, the number 2 position. He had been following John Dowd throughout the first portion of the race. Then Stanton made the pass. Kiedrowski made the pass. Then up came Mike LaRocco from out of the pack. He moved into the number 3 position. Dowd just rode a very steady and conservative race, held on to that number 4 slot. Damon Bradshaw had been doing some pushing in the early going. He was knocked back to 5th. Meanwhile, Davey Coombs is with our winner, Jeff Stanton. Let's go down to the pits.
Jeff, congratulations on your first win of the season. Is this the momentum builder you've been looking for?
No, it's just what I'm supposed to do. Finally won the first one.
Southwick's one of the roughest tracks on the circuit. Is this the kind of track that you like to come out and compete on?
Well, it isn't much fun. I don't really particularly care for it, but it suits my style.
Well, congratulations. Good luck in the next race.
Well, I would have thought that Stanton might have been a little happier after that performance. Steve Lamson finishing in a number 8 position. He should be happy with that ride.
Well, I know he's happy, and he's also got to be tired, Larry. He worked his way up from dead last after a start. He was, you know, had a great ride.
That's right. He crashed in the first corner, dead last all the way up to 8th. Davey Coombs is with Mike Kiedrowski.
Mike, it looked like you were really pushing Stanton out there, and then you fell. What happened?
Yeah, I was going, I was behind him. I was eating his roost the whole time, and I'd get momentum on him back in the back section and stuff going up the uphills, but just not quite enough to get by him. And we got into some lappers, and at one point I did pass Stanton, and he got me back on the straightaway because he had the inside for the next turn, and I kind of got caught behind the lapper. But I was going about 25 minutes. I was going down just because of the mechanics area, and my bike kind of hit one braking bump, hit the other one, and kind of went sideways and just kind of threw me off the side. And sometimes that happens, but I still ended up second, and there's still another moto left, so I can still get the overall.
Mike Kiedrowski, always optimistic and always with a smile. Now that's the attitude of a champion. Coming up, action from the 125cc class. Stay with us. Welcome back. Do the colors and paint scheme of this entry into the world of championship motocross ring a bell? Well, how about now? That's right, that's Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Turtles. They're on hand to do a little bit of publicity work here, sign a few autographs, make a bunch of kids happy, and more importantly, to do a little business in the world of motocross. Let's hear from the creator of the Turtles, Peter Laird. He's on hand to tell us about it.
Well, I'm a longtime motorcycle fan. I've ridden for quite some time since I was a teenager. And just recently with the success of the Turtles, it's allowed me to indulge myself in a couple of things. And with the help of Jerry Randall, who runs the local Valley Motorsports dealership, I connected with these four racers, the two motocrossers, Larry and Bunker Lashway, Tommy Norton, Hare Scrambles guy, and Dale Quarterly, road racer. And we put together Team Mirage, and it's just a lot of fun. It's something I've never been into before this closely, but it's a really educational experience, and it's a lot of fun.
You were expecting maybe the Addams family?
They're back, and they're back in time.
Hey, Dad, check it out!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the races. Well, I, for one, am impressed, but that does lead me to a question. Do you think we'll ever see the Turtles on motorcycles, maybe in one of their upcoming movies?
You never know. I would actually love to see it. I think it would be a really cool looking thing. Hey, anything can happen.
Try this on for size.
This could hurt. I love being a turtle.
Now that's what I call a darn good feature. Hey, Larry, Jim, can you guys say cowabunga? Oh.
Cowabunga.
Very good, Jim. Now can you say 125cc highlights? That's what's coming up next. Our thanks to the Ninja Turtles for that appearance. Let's take a look at the standings as we head into this round 2 in the 125 series. McGrath is on top with 47, then comes Kehoe, Craig, and on down the line. Now what we're watching are highlights from a pair of motos that took place earlier today. Here goes the start of that 125 class. We're about to see a crash by one of the big stars.
That's right, Jeremy McGrath. He went down with Mike Craig and a few other riders.
McGrath, of course, the series leader, and Craig, he's just in there to provide a little fodder and a little bit of traction for McGrath. At least that's what McGrath thought. But boy, the hearts had to have been beaten hard as McGrath picked himself up off the ground. Meanwhile, out front, Doug Dubach riding the 125 class. He too coming off an injury.
Yeah, that's right, Larry. He's got a bad ankle injury, and I'm surprised he's even riding this track. This track takes a tremendous toll on your ankles.
Well, we've pointed that out several times today, but it does not appear at this point in time to be bothering Dubach, although, as you said, Jim, it's going to take its toll, and Dubach will not be a factor in the outcome of either one of the two motos that we're watching. So Doug Dubach with the early hole shot. He's followed by Ezra Lusk. Then comes the hero in the 125 class so far this year, in my opinion. That's Doug Henry.
It's got to be Doug. You know, this is his home track, too, and I look for him to win both motos here.
Well, Doug Henry could easily do that in indoor competition. He has been the star. Meanwhile, up front, Dubach getting the pressure now from Ezra Lusk. It's the Yamaha versus the Suzuki, with the Honda setting back and watching.
You got to like Ezra Lusk. He's a little guy. He comes out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's riding this track really well. I'm surprised at Ezra. I think he wants to prove to Doug Henry, because he finished second in the championship there, that he is a contender in the outdoors.
Well, I think probably that's true. Right now, would they be sorting things out? Are they watching the lines, looking for places to pass?
No, I think they just found a place to pass. Ezra Lusk just went around the outside of Doug Dubach, and Henry's just kind of laying back there watching things, and I look for him to making some moves.
Well, I think that
there
because
was
we've
one.
already seen this, we know it's going to happen. So Doug Henry, he squirts to the inside of Doug Dubach, and those two swap positions. Now Henry will set his sights on Ezra Lusk. Can he do the damage to him outdoors that he's been doing all year long indoors?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. You know, Ezra's riding really well, but like I said, this is Doug Henry's home track.
Well, I think Doug Henry is the stronger of the two riders, and there he comes to the inside. He's able to hold that Honda down, and that's where he made the pass on Dubach. Didn't quite get away with it against Ezra.
Ezra's holding his lines really well. He's learning how to block pass. There's a lot of squaring off going on and cutting back underneath riders. I think they're doing that because trying to find a smoother line because the track is getting really rough now.
Well, Doug Henry found the smoothest one on the racetrack. He takes over the #1 position. Lusk settles in behind. Now, the two of them are going to have a dogfight here for several laps.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's ending towards the moto, and I think Lusk wants to get him back. He's not going to let Henry run away with this thing. He's going to fight back.
The name of the game is finish as high as you can. The better you finish, the higher you finish, the more points you get. 25 we'll start with for the #1 position, and that's what Doug Henry sees in his goggles right now. First place, 25 points, and we'll whittle away at that lead that McGrath has in the 125cc series.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch him swap back and forth and change lines and things like that. Doug's riding a really good race.
Well, about 50 more yards, and that good race will be history. There's the checkered flag. Doug Henry wins it. He's standing by with Davey Coons.
Doug, how's it feel to win a pro moto here in front of your hometown fans?
It feels great, man. They were cheering for me all the way. I loved it. I love it here. It's great.
You grew up on the sands of Southwick, and now you're back. Does that make you feel like you have any advantage over these other guys?
I think so. You know, I know the track, so I don't have to worry about the track. I just got to worry about staying up and going out there and getting a good start and winning, you know.
Well, congratulations and good luck in the second moto.
Thanks a lot.
Well, Doug Henry was certainly happy after moto #1. Let's see how he fares in the second moto. Again, the gate has dropped, and leading him to the corner this time was Jeff Emig, the defending 125cc national champ. Another rider down. He was unhappy.
To say the least, you know, it's hard to work up in this sand track.
Jeff Emig had crashed in the first moto, had worked back up to the #14 position, getting a little bit better start on this go-around, but look, right behind him, the guy that I would be worried about if I was leading that race, and that, of course, is Doug Henry.
Well, he looks good right here. I'd also be worried about Jeremy McGrath. He got a good start. He's running third right now, right behind Doug Henry.
Now, in the first moto, McGrath, remember, crashed on the opening lap in the first corner. He worked all the way up to 23rd, but could get no further. And this go-around, I think his intent is to do just a little bit of business out front. Now, Jeff Emig has not lived up to, I think, his billing all season long as champion of this 125cc class. And Emig is trying, like Jeff Stanton in the 250 class, to turn things around here at Southwick.
Well, he definitely needs this win bad because he DNF'd in Gainesville. He broke a throttle there. He's riding really well. He needs to win this thing, though. He needs to pull out ahead of Henry.
Seems like Emig rides with confidence sometimes. Then if he has a little bit of a problem, sometimes that confidence seems to go away.
And that confidence is about ready to go away, Larry. Doug Henry's just trying everything to get around him. Inside, outside, he's dogging him.
He just put a move on him. Look at this. Look at the way he switches back. Now, here's a lesson to all of you would-be professional motocrossers. You can't occupy, two bikes can't occupy the same line at the same time. So what you have to do is change your lines, Jim Holly, when you want to make a pass, just like Doug Henry did to Jeff Emig. He just found a new way around it.
Yeah, he's just, he knows the track like the back of his hand. He just knows other lines that'll work and when he can pass, and I'm sure it's got to be mind-boggling to Emig because Emig's still trying to fight back.
Yeah, Emig comes back real strong, but that was about the last honest effort in moto #2 in this 125cc class that Emig would be able to make. Now, Henry takes over the #1 position, and as soon as he is out there, he starts attacking the course with the good lines, and he's riding comfortable. He's riding smooth. He's got this one in the bag, and he knows it.
Well, not only that, Larry, he doesn't have to eat Jeff Emig's roost anymore. He's out front. He's breathing clean air. Now it's Emig's turn to eat a little roost.
Now, that's a very, very good point. We've not touched on that, but here on this sandy track, that certainly is a factor. Now, late stages of the moto, we see Emig in second, but here comes a couple of riders to join them. Jeremy McGrath is right there, and that's going to be problems for Emig.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Jeremy because, you know, he just ripped off a tear-off, so now he's got to eat Emig's roost. Emig might be getting a little tired now. McGrath might have the edge in the momentum. Larry Ward's coming up on McGrath, so it's going to be interesting to see how this develops.
Well, let me tell you how it develops. Here comes Doug Henry. Now, you'll notice Emig And you'll notice Larry Ward, but there is no Jeremy McGrath. He ate enough of that dirt that he went backward about 10 yards.
Yeah, I think you're right, Larry. And Larry Ward just really putting the charge on Emig here. It's going to be interesting to see if Ward can get by Emig or if Emig can hold on.
Well, Emig has been running at the front of the pack. Ward, on the other hand, came from out of the pack, so he has the momentum, and that should be a factor.
Well, let me tell you, Larry, I've been in both situations. It's a lot easier to be in Ward's situation. He has the momentum. He's catching Emig. It's going to be a lot harder for Emig to pick his pace up.
Well, what Doug Henry is going to pick up is his second checkered flag of the day. He wins both ends of the 125cc class. There are the moto finishes. Ezra Lusk finishes second overall with a second and a sixth. Then comes Larry Ward, Jeff Emig, Ryan Hughes. The Team Kawasaki rider finishes in the number 5 position. So after 2 rounds of competition in the 125cc class, here are the standings. Doug Henry is on top with 86 points, then Jeremy McGrath, not a good day for the youngster, 65 points, then Eric Kehoe, Ezra Lusk. Rounding out the top 5 is Kawasaki's Michael Craig with 53 points. When we come back, we'll have the action from the second moto in the 250cc class. Be sure you stay with us. It's going to be exciting. Welcome back to Southwick, Massachusetts, AMA National Championship Motocross. The gate is about to drop on the second moto in the 250cc class. Jeff Stanton was the winner of moto number 1. Can he do it again, Jim?
You know, he's got a good start here. It looks like he's going to do it again. He has to do it again for the overall.
And again, we see another crash in that first corner. What is it about that corner that's taking its toll? That's a big one.
Well, it's just a fast uphill start, and it's got a sweeping left-hander, and anytime you get 40 aggressive guys in there, you're going to have things happen.
Talk about aggressive. Greg Bowen has moved into the number 1 position, and here comes Phil Lawrence. He's taken over the number 3 slot. So we've got some aggressive riding going on, and it's not just Stanton and Kidrowski.
Whoa!
Well, Stanton now comes back, and he regains that number 1 spot. But the guys behind him are aggressive, Jim.
That's right. You know, Greg Bowen, he's riding really well. You know, he's the younger brother of Keith Bowen, former factory Yamaha rider, and he looks pretty good running in second. He's pushing these factory boys.
Well, let me ask you this. How long would you think Greg Bowen is going to stay up there?
2 laps.
Well, I think if he does, that'll be a good outing for that young man. We're going to go back and take another look at the start here in just a second. Maybe we can see where Greg Bowen came from. But what you are going to see is Jeff Stanton with the proper way to get through the first corner and get the whole shot.
Well, almost get the whole shot, Larry. Let's see where Greg Bowen comes through the first turn at. There he is on the inside, and there he is making the pass on Stanton.
Indeed, he got the job.
Whoa!
Oh, Brian McElroy, rider number 53. Have you ever been in that position?
Oh, yeah, a few times. He's lucky to save that thing.
He'll go back to the pits and change his pants, I think. Meanwhile, Jeff Stanton has done exactly what he needed to do. He got by Bowen, and he's now opened up the gap between himself and 2 riders behind him. Phil Lawrence running in second place, and Kidrowski. Now, Kidrowski wants to get around Lawrence as quickly as he can.
He's got to get around Lawrence, you know, if he has any hope of catching Jeff Stanton at this point.
Yeah, and he wasted absolutely no time, so he made the pass on Lawrence. Now he'll go to work and catch up with Stanton, and I think what we were alluding to there is if he stays back and fights with Lawrence, then Stanton gets a big lead, and there's no way then that Kidrowski can come up and catch him.
Well, that and also, you know, he spends a lot of energy that he necessarily doesn't want to spend. He wants to worry about getting to Stanton.
Here's the situation. Stanton won the first moto. Kidrowski finished second. Now, if Kidrowski can win this moto and Stanton finishes second, well, they would come away with the day, you know, tied with points. But by virtue of the fact that Kidrowski had the better performance in the second moto, he would be declared the overall winner. That's all coming your way when we come back, so be sure to stay with us. There's still a lot of action to come.
My name is Jess Richardson, and I'd like to know if the riders could have any car in the world, what would it be?
I'd probably say the F40 Ferrari, because it's just, you know, it's a limited car, it's fast, and it's a hot car.
Probably a pickup. Probably a pickup truck. I've just, you know, I've kind of went through that when I was younger. I had a vet, had fun in it, and kind of basically grown out of that scene. You know, now I have a truck, and I basically enjoy driving that just as much as I would a Lamborghini or Ferrari or something.
Let me think here. I don't know. Maybe a Lamborghini. That's the most prestigious car, I guess. I don't know. nice sports car. I wouldn't look too bad driving in it.
Well, there's LaRocco, and I would have to think the way he has come from out of the pack that he's maybe got that Ferrari engine tucked inside that Kawasaki frame, Jim, because he's really, really hauling the mail. He's coming up on Phil Lawrence, and this is going to be the battle for the number 3 position.
Well, it's going to be a good battle because if LaRocco has any intent of catching Stanton and Kudrowski, he's got to deal with Lawrence and get around him real quick.
I think we're dealing with that momentum problem that we talked about just a short ago. LaRocco coming from out of the pack is clearly going faster than Phil Lawrence is.
Oh, he's trying everything. He's like riding like Doug Henry was. He's trying inside, outside. He's moving around. He's tired of eating the dust. He wants to get around
Looks
him.
like he's going to make the pass. No, Lawrence got a handful and held on to that number 3 position.
He's riding real good. Lawrence is holding his own here, you know. He's keeping LaRocco at bay.
Well, LaRocco goes inside, then he goes outside, and I think that the pressure is going to catch up with Phil Lawrence. Lawrence has not been subject to this type of severe pressure in his career. He's just a youngster just starting out. LaRocco knows what it's all about, and there goes the pass. LaRocco got to the inside. Lawrence was just bullied out of the way. He went to the outside, says, I don't want any more of this. I'll take what I can get. LaRocco says, bye-bye, this one is mine. And boy, he is pulling away already.
Well, he's focused right now, Larry. He's focused on catching Stanton and Kudrowski because, you know, he's still in the hunt for the overall. One little bobble by Stanton or Kudrowski, and boom, he's in the overall. He's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, that's a good point, very good point. Now, there's Stanton. Here's Kudrowski. Kudrowski in the number 2 position. Stanton has already gone by. We talked about those two winning the overall, and it ignored, really, Mike LaRocco, but you're absolutely right. A bobble up front, and LaRocco could take the overall win, and I think these fans know that, too. They're waiting for LaRocco to come around. Here's Phil Lawrence. Now Lawrence is battling in the number 4 position with Lamson. So Lawrence is going backwards. Steve Lamson got off, I'd say, somewhere around 8th or 9th, and he's worked up now to that spot to tangle with Lawrence.
That's right. You know, like I said earlier, this is the second moto. It's going to separate the men from the boys. The track, this is the last race of the day. Track's really rough. It's gonna determine the men.
Now those two riders are catching, get this, Damon Bradshaw, but the report is that Bradshaw took a tumble and he's a lap down. He's not in this fight that we're watching. So when these two riders come up on him, I would imagine that Bradshaw will get out of the way, let them go by, because they are fighting for a position here in that number 4 slot.
Well, that'd be nice of Bradshaw if he would move out of the way, but you know, he wants to work back up. He's a little bit down, so we're going to see if he'll move over.
Okay, so out front, way out front, is Stanton. Kudrowski second. We got LaRocco in third. We're watching a battle for 4th. Phil Lawrence, rider number 31, and Steve Lamson. There's Lawrence, and Lamson is number 21. He's aboard the factory Honda, and Phil Lawrence aboard the factory Suzuki. They're fighting for the number 4 position, and to them that's just as important, I would guess, as the battle for the lead between Kudrowski and Stanton.
Well, you know that Steve Lamson, he's got to be a little bit tired. He was down in the first turn on the first motor, and he had to work up to the 8th spot, and he's riding really well now.
So can Stanton hold off Kudrowski? Can LaRocco catch the leaders? And can Lamson catch Phil Lawrence? We'll find out when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching National Championship Motocross from Southwick, Massachusetts. It's round 2 of the series. This is the second of 2 motos in the 250 class. We're watching a battle for the number 4 position. Steve Lamson, rider number 21, has it, and number 27, John Dowd, wants it. Now, earlier, that battle was between Lamson and Phil Lawrence. Lawrence has dropped back to 6th place as Dowd has come through the pack. And Jim Holly, I've got to give this young man a lot of credit. He's a privateer, and he's really duking it out strong with the factory guys.
Yeah, John's really riding really well today. You know, it's his home track, and there again we go to the factor that he's got the momentum behind him. He's got the charge coming, and Steve Lamson just had a heavy battle with Phil Lawrence, so he might be getting a little tired. And like I said, I think Dowd's got the momentum here.
Well, momentum, we're talking what kind of strength do you have to fight on this sand, and who are the fans pulling for? Can you hear them? Is that going to be a factor? I think you'd agree the fans are a big factor.
Most definitely, you know, and the fans are behind John Dowd, and Lamson knows that. Anytime they holler or hooting, you know, he's trying to make a move, so Lamson feels the pressure, believe me. I've been in that position where the fans are a big factor.
Lamson from California, of course, when you're in Massachusetts, and there's the pass. Dowd takes over the number 4 slot, and boy, the fans are going nuts here in Southwick, Massachusetts. The young man from Chicopee has moved into the number 4 position. He did that in the first moto, so this privateer is really really just picking him up and laying him down.
Well, he's riding really well, and I don't think Steve's going to try to let him go. You know, he's hanging right with him. He might try to pass him back.
Well, Steve Lamson was hired by Honda as primarily an outdoor rider. He's done fairly well, you know, in the indoor portion of the circuit this year in Supercross, but they bet that Lamson is going to emerge as one of the quality outdoor national championship guys. Now, he's going to have to pick up his pace just a little bit to deserve that kind of rating.
Well, there you just see John Dowd pulling off the tear-off. He doesn't have to eat Lamson's roost anymore. Lamson has to contend with Dowd's roost.
Meanwhile, up front, the battle is tightening up for the #1 position. Jeff Stanton, rider #1, and Kiedrowski trying to take advantage of a lap rider, and he did it. Kiedrowski took over the #1 position. A lap rider was the a key there. Kiedrowski was able to slide underneath when Stanton had to go way wide. So we have a new leader in this one. The guy that finished second in Moto #1 is now out front. Mike Kiedrowski with Stanton running second.
It's going to be interesting, Larry, to see how Stanton reacts to this because as it stands right now, Kiedrowski's going to win the overall, and Stanton's going to finish second. He can't finish second too much longer.
Well, since the drop of the gate, these two riders have basically been fighting for that #1 position, but Kiedrowski seemed content to sit back and watch Stanton. You know, it was like, look, I'm going to let it go for a while. I won't be that close to him. I won't get all that dirt thrown in my face, and certainly that was a factor. Now, earlier, we had a chance to talk with Mike Kiedrowski, and ironically, we asked him, Mike, who is the toughest guy that you have ever raced with? Let's listen to his answer.
I'd have to say probably Jeff Stanton. He's a good rider. He's smart when he rides. He doesn't take, you know, chances against other riders, hurting them, stuff, you know, stupid stuff. He knows how to win championships, and he's in great shape, like I said, and that pays off a lot.
Well, Jim, as we watch Stanton and Kiedrowski duke it out, let me put you on the spot and ask you, who is the best rider you ever raced against?
Well, that's a hard question for me, Larry. I've raced against a lot of good guys. I can name 2 or 3 off the top of my head. Bob Hanna, Ricky Johnson, Jeff Ward, Johnny O'Mara, David Bailey. The list goes on.
You said 2 or 3.
Well, they're all good guys.
It gets tough, doesn't it? They're all good. You make it up to this level of competition, and boy, you have got to be good. So Kiedrowski has taken over the #1 spot. He passed the guy he said is the toughest guy he's ever raced with, and that tough guy is by no means backing off the pace. He's chasing Kiedrowski in one little bobble, and Stanton will have an opportunity to pass. And my guess would be that he would try to force the issue if he has to in his last couple of laps. Now let's keep the cameras right on that corner. We're going to look for 3rd place. See just how far, Jim, that these two guys are ahead. Well, see, I said we keep the camera here. Camera's going to go looking for Mike LaRocco, who's back in the #3 slot. Here comes LaRocco, so they have a healthy lead on Mike LaRocco.
Yeah, I think the only thing that LaRocco can hope for is maybe both those guys knock each other down.
So Kiedrowski leads it, Stanton in 2nd, then LaRocco 3rd, Dowd Lamson. We'll be back to wrap this one up right after this. Welcome back as we put the finishing touches on the second moto in the 250 class of round 2 of National Championship Motocross competition. And right there is the difference on the final lap. Rider #3 is Mike Kiedrowski. Stanton right behind him was the early leader, and he wants Jim Holly to lead this one more time.
He's trying really hard, Larry. You know, it's a do-or-die situation for
Stanton. What
Stanton.
can he do? He's been following now for the past several laps. What can he do to move Kiedrowski out of that #1 spot?
Well, he's going to have to, like, stick his wheel in, try to make Mike make a bobble or something, go into a corner when the throttle's off, hold the throttle wide open, try to spook Kiedrowski into making a real big bobble, and I think that's the only hope he's got.
Yeah, and if Kiedrowski keeps his cool and does not bobble, are there any options left for Stanton?
Hold the throttle wide open at the finish.
And maybe when he gets that wheel on the inside, hold the throttle open right there and kind of nudge him off the racetrack?
That's exactly right, but I don't think Stanton will do that. He's not that type of rider. Kiedrowski, you know, in the interview talked about Stanton, and he knows Stanton. He knows he's not going to try anything stupid.
Well, the interval between the two of them is growing, and time is running out. A lap rider, that could be a factor.
Most definitely, Larry. That's going to be a big factor to help Jeff Stanton. If Kiedrowski bobbles with a lap rider, that's going to open the door for Stanton to take the win.
And Kiedrowski squirts to the inside. No bobble there. Both riders are clear of the lapper, so I'd say the time is run. Look at Stanton now, though, coming to the inside. Nowhere to go. He just lost all the momentum when he made that corner.
He's trying every trick in the book, Larry. He wants this win so bad. I've never seen Jeff ride quite like this in the second moto. He's aggressive. He's hungry. He wants the win.
Yeah, but he's trying it all clean, though. He's staying away from Kiedrowski. Kiedrowski, and that's what Mike Kiedrowski and you had talked about. Checkered flag is out. Kiedrowski wins the moto. He'll win the overall for the day because he did finish better than Stanton did in the second moto. LaRocco's going to be third overall for the day, a pair of third places, not too shabby with a sore wrist. John Dowd ends up fourth, and that's great for a privateer. Let's take a look at the standings. Kiedrowski out on top, then Stanton, Dowd, Lawrence, and Bradshaw. We're going to go to Davey Coombs, who is standing by in the pits with our overall winner for the day, Mike Kiedrowski of Team Kawasaki.
Wow, Mike, what a race.
Yeah, it was a good race. I was about third off the line and got by a slower rider. I think it was Phil Lawrence, and just was staying in second behind Stanton. You know, the first moto I was behind him the whole time, and I think I rode too close to him the first moto, ate a lot of dirt, and, you know, maybe lost a little momentum. This time I kind of paced myself behind him and started getting into some traffic. I knew it'd work for me. It did the first moto a little bit, and just got by him and just held it off. You know, Stanton's a charger at the end, and I gave him my all.
And with that effort, Jim, Mike Kiedrowski might well be on the way to the 250 title. For Jim Holly and Davey Coombs, I'm Larry Myers. We'll see you at the races right here on Cycle World.